On April 29, 1998, a man sat at a heavy mahogany desk inside a quiet office in Abuja. He held a government-issued pen. He pulled a thick official document toward him, took a breath, and signed his name. With that single signature, he transferred the exclusive drilling rights to a massive piece of the Atlantic Ocean. The area was called OPL 245. This was not just any piece of the ocean. It was one of the richest, unexploited oil fields on the planet. Deep beneath the saltwater, it held an estimated 9 billion barrels of crude oil. He gave this entire oil block to a private company called Malibu Oil and Gas. The company paid the Nigerian government just $2 million for the license. $2 million for 9 billion barrels of oil. Years later, that same company sold the block to foreign oil giants, Shell and Eni, for $1.3 billion. We follow the money. And when investigators followed this money, they asked a simple question. Who owned Malibu Oil and Gas? The corporate registration records showed the company belonged to a man named Kweku Amafega. But Kweku Amafega did not exist. It was a fake name, a ghost. The real owner of the company was the very man sitting at the mahogany desk in Abuja. His name was Dan Etete. At the time he signed the document, he was Nigeria's Minister of Petroleum. The Minister of Petroleum awarded $1 billion national asset to himself for pennies, and then sold it for $1 billion profit. This was not a mistake. This was not a loophole. This is the Nigerian oil business. You are watching Historic Capital.
Power is never given. It is taken, hidden, and controlled. This is Historic Capital.
In this investigation, we are opening the files on Nigeria's oil block cartel. You are about to see how the wealth of an entire nation can be legally moved into the hands of a few powerful people. We'll show you the law that made it possible. We'll follow the money from London bank accounts to private jets. And we'll expose the hidden paper trail that some politicians and powerful business interests have used to profit from Nigeria's oil. By the end of this investigation, you'll understand why a country that produces millions of barrels of oil every day still has families struggling to buy food, why many hospitals lack basic equipment, why fuel shortages keep coming back, and why millions of Nigerians are still searching for jobs. But before we continue, thank you to everyone who has subscribed and supported Historic Capital. This channel exists because of you. We don't take money from politicians. We are supported by ordinary people who want to understand how this system really works. If you believe more Nigerians deserve to know the truth, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's look at the evidence. To steal an ocean, you do not need a navy. You need a law. In Nigeria, that law is the Petroleum Act of 1969. If you read the text of this law, it sounds very patriotic. It states that the entire ownership and control of all petroleum in, under, or upon any land in Nigeria is vested in the state. The oil belongs to the government. It belongs to the people. But power hides behind paperwork. If you turn to Section 2 of this law, it does something very specific. It grants the absolute power to allocate this oil to exactly one person, the Minister of Petroleum Resources. In many Western countries, if the government wants to sell drilling rights to a natural resource, they hold an open, public auction. They invite 20 companies. The companies bid against each other. The highest bidder wins. The billions of dollars go straight into the national treasury to build roads and schools. In Nigeria, for decades, they used a system called discretionary allocation. This is a polite financial term. In plain English, it means the minister can wake up on a Tuesday morning, look at a map of the Niger Delta, draw a square with a red marker, and give that land to his friend, his brother, a family member, a political ally, or almost anyone he wants. That's how much power the law gives him. No auction, no bidding, just a signature. Imagine a local government chairman who controls the biggest market in the state. Instead of renting the shops to the traders who will pay the most money to the government, he simply hands the keys of the 50 biggest shops to his wife for free. That is discretionary allocation. Did this system start with Dan Etete in 1998? No. The system remembers everything. To understand today, we must look at the historical pattern. Let us look at the paper trail of the early 1990s. Under the military government of General Ibrahim Babangida, oil blocks were handed out as pure political favors. In 1993, Babangida awarded OML 127, a massive offshore oil block, to a company called Famfa Oil. Let us look at Famfa Oil. Famfa Oil was not an energy company. It had no engineers. It had no deep-water drilling equipment. It did not even own a tractor. It was owned by a woman named Folorunsho Alakija. At the time she received this multi-billion-dollar oil field, she was a fashion designer. Her primary business was making clothes for the president's wife. A fashion designer received a multi-billion-dollar piece of the Atlantic Ocean through discretionary allocation. This is the mechanism of extraction. The law was not designed to protect the oil for the citizens. It was designed to package the oil for the elite. But when an elite politician or his friend receives an oil block, they face a practical problem. They do not know how to extract oil. Drilling a deep water well costs hundreds of millions of dollars. They do not have the capital, the technology, or the workers. But they do not need capital. They have the paper. These entities are called briefcase companies. They consist of three things: a registered name, a leather briefcase, and a government license. Once they get the license, the owners fly to London, Paris, or Houston. They sit down in expensive boardrooms with the real oil operators, companies like Shell, Chevron, ExxonMobil, or Total. They propose a deal. In the industry, it is called farming out. Imagine you are a tailor in Aba. You have no cars. You do not know how to drive. But a politician signs a paper giving you the exclusive right to operate all the taxis in the main motor park. What do? You go to a real transport company. You show them your paper. You say, bring your cars, bring your drivers. You buy the fuel. You take all the risk. But because I hold this government paper, you will give me 40% of all the money you make. That is farming out. The Nigerian politician says to the foreign oil major, I own the rights to this ocean. You have the money and the rigs. You drill the oil. You take 60% of the profits. You give me 40%. The foreign company agrees. They take the financial risk. They bring the technology. They bring the engineers. The Nigerian politician takes zero risk. He just sits in a mansion in Mayfair, London, and waits for the royalty checks to arrive. Someone approved this. Every signature tells a story. Let us return to the Dan Etete case, OPL 245. When Etete's secret company, Malabu Oil, finally flipped the oil block to Shell and Eni in 2011, the transaction was highly sophisticated. Shell and Eni did not pay Dan Etete directly. If they handed $1 billion to a former minister, it would look like a bribe. They would face criminal charges in Europe. So they used the system. Instead of paying Malabu, Shell and Eni paid $1.3 billion into a Nigerian government account at JP Morgan Chase Bank in London. Then, the Nigerian government, under the administration of President Goodluck Jonathan, authorized JP Morgan to transfer $801 million of that money directly out of the government account and into the private corporate accounts of Malabu Oil. The money landed exactly where it was always meant to land, in Dan Etete's control. The paper trail never lies. Financial investigators tracked the wire transfers. Where did the money go? What does $801 million mean to an ordinary Nigerian? It means modern hospitals in every local government in the country. It means newly paved highways. It means steady electricity. But the money did not build hospitals. The wire transfers show the money was used to buy a private jet. It was used to buy a fleet of armored Cadillac SUVs. It was used to buy luxury properties in Dubai and a historic chateau in France. The Nigerian treasury received almost nothing. The foreign banks processed the transfers and took their fees. The foreign oil companies got the oil. The Nigerian politician got the jet. The transaction worked perfectly. Not all oil blocks are given away to briefcase companies. The Nigerian government keeps a share of the largest, most productive fields. They operate these fields on behalf of the public through the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, the NNPC. The NNPC forms joint ventures, often called JVs, with foreign companies like Shell or Chevron. In a standard joint venture, the NNPC owns 55 or 60% of the asset. The foreign company owns the rest. Because the NNPC owns the majority, they are supposed to pay the majority of the day-to-day operating costs. These payments are called cash calls. If Shell needs $1 billion to maintain the pipelines, repair equipment, and drill new wells for the year, the NNPC is supposed to pay $550 million. But year after year, the NNPC deliberately fails to pay. They accumulate billions of dollars in debt to their foreign partners. Why would a national oil company fail to pay its bills when it is sitting on record oil revenues? Because the debt creates a new loophole. When the NNPC fails to pay the cash calls, the foreign oil companies complain. They say, "If you cannot pay us in cash, we will just take the crude oil directly to cover your debt." The NNPC agrees. They sign a document called a Modified Carry Agreement. This is an accounting magic trick. Suddenly, millions of barrels of Nigerian crude oil leave the shores of the Niger Delta. They bypass the federal budget completely. When the National Assembly asks the NNPC, "Where is the revenue for this oil? Why is there no money to fund the national budget?" The NNPC replies, "We did not sell it. We gave it to Shell to cover our debts." For decades, the NNPC operated as a financial black box. They did not publish audited financial statements. They operated in total secrecy. More importantly, they did not install modern meters at the oil export terminals. In the modern world, oil is measured at the wellhead, the pipeline, and the terminal. In Nigeria, no one actually knows exactly how many barrels of oil leave the country every day. They only measure the oil after it leaves the terminal, sitting on the foreign ships. This lack of metering is not an accident. You cannot steal what is accurately measured. You can only steal what is estimated. Money always leaves fingerprints, but oil in an unmetered pipeline is blind. In the 2000s, the cartel realized that the Nigerian public was getting angry. Citizens were asking why foreign companies were lifting all the crude while Nigerians remained poor. So, the politicians invented a new narrative. They called it local content. They passed laws insisting that Nigerian-owned companies must be given a larger share of the oil business. It sounded beautiful. It sounded like economic independence. It sounded like the wealth was finally coming home. But look at who the local companies actually were. Enter Diezani Alison-Madueke. When she was the Minister of Petroleum, she pioneered the use of a new document called Strategic Alliance Agreements, or SAAs. Under these agreements, the NNPC transferred the rights to lift and sell billions of dollars worth of crude oil to two local companies, Atlantic Energy and Scepter Energy. Who owned these local companies? They were owned by two men, Jide Omokore and Kola Aluko. They were close personal associates of the Minister of Petroleum. The agreement stated that Atlantic Energy would provide funding and technical expertise to the NNPC. In exchange, they would get a massive share of the oil. But investigators later discovered the truth. Atlantic Energy had almost no technical expertise. They provided only a fraction of the funding they promised. Yet, because they held the government paper, they were allowed to lift and sell over $1.5 billion worth of Nigerian crude oil. Where did the money go? It did not build refineries. It did not create jobs for the youth. The United States Department of Justice tracked the funds. The paper trail led straight to America. Kola Aluko bought a $50 million penthouse in the exclusive 157 building in Manhattan, New York. He bought an $80 million superyacht called the Galactica Star. He bought mansions in Beverly Hills and luxury estates in Switzerland. The American investigators also found that Aluko used the oil money to buy high-end real estate in London for the Minister of Petroleum herself. They used local content as a wrapper for global money laundering. They used the language of patriotism to execute the ultimate extraction. We have followed the paper. We have followed the money. Now we must look at the physical ground. Take a boat into the winding creeks of Bayelsa State. Walk through the villages of Ogoniland. The people who live on top of the oil blocks do not own the oil blocks. They do not have a signature. They do not have a briefcase company in London. They only have the consequences. Look at the water. The rivers are coated in a thick, rainbow-colored slick of crude oil. The fish are dead. The mangrove forests are burned and blackened. The air smells of toxic gas flares burning day and night. The local fisherman cannot fish because his nets pull up toxic sludge. The local farmer cannot plant cassava because the soil is poisoned with hydrocarbons. This is the true cost of discretionary allocation. The $1.3 billion that disappeared into Dan Etete's accounts could have funded a massive, world-class cleanup of the oil spills. It could have paved the East-West Road, connecting millions of people to trade and commerce. It could have built state-of-the-art schools for the children breathing the polluted air. Instead, it bought an armored Cadillac. The wealth of the ground is legally separated from the people who live on it. The Nigerian state uses the military to guard the oil facilities. They protect the pipelines from the local citizens, ensuring the crude flows safely to the export terminals, onto the massive tankers, and out to the global markets. The citizen pays the cost in cancer, in extreme poverty, and in environmental destruction. The politician collects the royalty in a Swiss bank account. If you have watched this far, you must understand one fundamental truth. The Nigerian oil industry is not broken. It is performing exactly as it was designed to perform. The Petroleum Act of 1969 did not protect the wealth for the nation. It centralized the wealth into a single pen. When you give one office the absolute unchecked power to hand out billion-dollar assets in secret, you do not get a petroleum industry, you get a cartel. The foreign oil majors, Shell, Eni, Chevron, are happy to play the game. They write beautiful press releases about corporate social responsibility. They build a small clinic here or donate a few books there. But behind closed doors, in the boardrooms of London and Houston, they know the math. It is much cheaper to wire $800 million to a briefcase company owned by a corrupt politician than it is to pay the true open market value of the oil to the Nigerian treasury. The system relies on collusion. The minister signs the paper. The briefcase company holds the license. The foreign major drills the oil. The Western Bank washes the money. This is not a failure of governance. It is colonialism by contract. The flag changed in 1960, but the extraction never stopped. This concludes our dossier on the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and the oil block cartel. If this investigation helped you understand exactly who owns the ground beneath your feet, share it. Send it to a taxi driver who wonders why petrol is so expensive. Send it to a student who wonders why the universities are on strike. Send it to someone who still believes the refineries are broken by accident. We have traced the money from the oil blocks in the Atlantic Ocean to the London banks, to the Abuja mansions, and to the political elite. But there is a new vehicle they are using to extract wealth today. It is hidden in plain sight. It operates under the banner of infrastructure. If you want us to open the files on the multi-billion-dollar Chinese loans and the phantom railway contracts, make sure you are subscribed. Leave a comment below. Do you think the Petroleum Act should be rewritten to permanently strip the minister of discretionary allocation powers? If this system worked yesterday and it still works today, who will stop it tomorrow? You are watching Historic Capital. The truth is in the transactions. Follow the money.